It's officially 2022, and the plan for this morning is to organize and review my stash and make a bit of a rough plan for 2022. I was reflecting on 2021, and in the fall I was quite proud because I hadn't bought any new clothing, but then I realized I'd actually bought quite a bit of yarn, which really balanced out the two. So I think in 2021 I made this investment in all this yarn, and then in 2022 I get to enjoy the benefit of that investment. I've got a couple tools to help me organize. I've got my ball winder and my Swift, so I'll use this to kind of tidy up any mangly skeins or wine yarn that I'd like to use in 2022. And then behind me I've got some boxes that contain my stash. So this was my first stash box, and I quickly outgrew it, and my husband made me this beautiful one. So I like to keep my yarn in boxes because we live in an old apartment building just a couple stories above street level, and it gets quite dusty. So these help protect my yarn from gathering dust. So this one is actually also cedar lined, which helps stop moths from eating my wool. And then for my 30th birthday last year, my husband got me this box, and this is a Japanese box that's used to store tea, and I believe it's completely made of cedar. So again, good for the yarn, it's still breathable, but bugs can't grow in it. I think it's time to open up these boxes and get started. My yarn is a little more messy than I was expecting. I thought I was a little more organized than this. As you can see, some things are a bit of a mess. So this is what I'm going to use the ball winder on. And also I just have too much yarn. I've also got all sorts of just like weird little bits of paper and things. So my plan is to use this box for 2022, this box for any finished objects and future years worth of yarn, and then this box for anything that's maybe not a skein. The idea would be in 2022 to buy no new yarn, and then at the end of the year, this will be empty. Last year I did 9 projects, so I think I could probably put about 9 projects in here and then empty it out. Is it realistic though for me to not buy any yarn? Probably not. I think my high school teacher would not be proud of that goal. Goals should be SMART: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Okay, so the time-bound we got, because it's 2022. I think to make it achievable though, I need to leave room for yarn purchases and new projects. So I think I'm going to I did 9 projects last year, so maybe I'll put 5 to 6 in here, and then any new yarn that I get has to go in this box. And the goal is still to have this box empty by the end of 2022. Okay, sounds like a good goal. That's a smart goal. This is a bit more daunting than I was expecting. I think what I need to do first is just like a rough organize. So I'm gonna organize it by weight. Luckily, all this yarn I purchased within the last couple of years, so I still remember it all, but I can see how I'm gonna start forgetting brands, content. So I'm just collecting all the tags that are kind of swimming around in the box, and then hopefully I can attach the tags to the yarn. I've also got a couple finished projects in the mix. So these are 2 things that I actually don't wear, and they're really made out of beautiful wool. So I've been wanting to unwind these. Maybe I'll do that today. We'll see. This is already a bigger project than I thought. Okay, so we're already doing better. This is like my mohair lace weight yarn. This whole section here is sock fingering. And then we kind of have sport, DK, worsted. And already I can tell we're missing some, so I think I gotta go find that. Yes, I forgot about. This is my yarn from my current works in progress. These are the needles that I need to. I've got interchangeable needles, but I'm bad and I don't put them away after I use them. Then I've got my knit collage yarn, which is beautiful, but also huge. I'm gonna keep that in here. This is like my current project bag. I have other stuff in here, so I'm just gonna pull out. This is a finished object, another skein of yarn. Last year I discovered that dog poop bags are great little ways to organize yarn, so I've got quite a few of these sprinkled. I feel like I already deserve a break. I guess things just get messy though before they get cleaner. Okay, so now I've got my needles, papery things / buttons, swatches / finished objects, works in progress, There's some rat's nests in there, so that that'll be winding up. I just put the kettle on for some tea because I think I'm gonna need a break. I'm gonna start easy just to reduce the size of that pile. So I'm gonna start with a sweater that I bought the yarn for that I really want to knit, which is the Guthrie sweater by Boyland Knitworks. I've got La Bien Amie and Spin Cycle for the color work. One project chosen of 6. Also, any yarn that's in that cedar line box smells like cedar. So good. I guess the next thing that I definitely want to do is finish my work in progress. So I want to finish the second Curio sock, which means that this is going in there along with the yarns to make that. I don't know if this counts as a whole project. I think this is going to count as a half. So now we're at 1.5. This is 5 skeins of undyed sock yarn. I got this because last Christmas I got a beautiful box of natural dyes and I would love to try dyeing my own wool. So I got 5 skeins and I thought I could do a bit of a yarn dyeing party with some girlfriends. I would really like to do this in 2022. I think though this is going to be like my knitted projects. So things that I can just like start knitting, have the pattern. So I'm going to put you in this box. Plus that box is a bit bigger. So I just realized I'm actually missing one more skein of yarn. I didn't realize how scattered the yarn was all throughout my apartment. So this is definitely something I'm going to do in 2022. I gave my dad this yarn for Christmas and I told him I would knit him a toque before he's back from Hawaii. So I've got 3 weeks, which is plenty of time, and I picked out my pattern. I'm going to be making Jason's Cashmere Hat. The water is boiled, which means it's time for a little bit of a break, but first I'm going to do a couple more easy ones. I love socks, and my goal for 2022 is to try out some new heels. I've got quite a bit of beautiful BC Canada dyed wool. I recently got these 2 lovely skeins from Mudpunch. They're merino and nylon, and then I won these, which are Fidley Dyeworks, and these are BFL, blue-faced Leicester? Yeah, blue-faced Leicester. Again, they have nylon in them as well. And then the last one is, I have one more skein of Sweet Georgia. Okay, we're at 2.5 projects. I said I only wanted to get to 6. I'm gonna put this one in. So this is gonna be my 3.5 project. 4.5. 5.5? Is that right? We're already a lot higher than I thought. Gosh, so I originally said 6 projects. I feel like I'm gonna break that because we're at 5.5. And there's still lots more that I wanna do this year. All right, well, I'm gonna have some tea and have a little bit of a think. I've got all these odds and ends from projects, and I'm sure I'm not alone here, and it's so satisfying to find uses for all those little bits of yarn that you have left over. So what I'd like to do is actually do a couple scrappy projects this year. A couple things that I have, ideas that I have to use up all these tiny little skeins of wool is I found, well, patterns. So there's the Pengweeno baby jacket by Stephen West. And it's this cute little jacket that you can really just go nuts with the colors. So in that case, I'd kind of choose maybe a couple colors that go well together and then knit to my heart's desires. Another idea is to pick colors that might go together and do a fade. Imagine you have more of these and then you do a gradual fade. You could also just use these as the contrast color, and that way your fade doesn't have to be quite as perfect, and that can be really cute where you manually move between colors. Or you can also do like a Fairisle project. So I found this more like beginner-friendly Fairisle project, which is a pillow. It's called the Fairisle Patch Cushion by Wallen, I believe. And the nice thing about Fairisle is that you want contrast colors and almost like colors that you wouldn't really think go together. So that might work better in my case because I kind of have a lot of colors that are all over the place, as you can see. And then of course, if you kind of have, like for instance here, I did one project in this, so it's not quite a full skein, but it's actually quite a bit. You could imagine doing, you can do small projects. So I could do like onesie or a hat. So when I first started knitting, I used to pull from the center, but that creates this like yarn barf. Because as you pull from the center, it loses its stability. So I've now since started pulling from the outside, and that keeps the balls kind of nice and neat versus this mess that you turn into where you really kind of almost need to rewind the skein before storing it. And as you can see, I didn't always do that. So these are all my partial skeins, and I'm gonna choose some to do the Pengweeno sweater by Stephen West, as I'd like to try to use up some of these yarns. But first I need to restabilize these skeins. So like this one is really nice and stable. It's contained. Whereas we look at something like this one, it's like a little nightmare in the stash because it'll just get tangled on everything. Okay, so I've organized it so I've got the stable skeins on one side and the yarn barf on another, and now I'm going to wind it all. This one I can easily use the Swift to wind because it's already in this beautiful, I can easily just drape it around. But for this one, like it's already been wound once, so it's so much smaller already, so I don't think I can actually use the Swift, and instead what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to use my yarn bowl. Instead, I'm going to put my yarn in the yarn bowl. This. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 10 skeins of wool that I need to turn in from yarn barf into these cute little stable skeins. I think we should time this and see how fast I can do it. So it is currently 2:09 now. I bet you I can do 2 minutes a skein. So I'm gonna say 20 minutes. Okay, I think it's gonna take me 20 minutes. Okay, it just turned, so I'm gonna get started. Here we go. Skein number 1. Oopsies. Past self should be ashamed for how she stored this yarn. Can't believe I even did this to myself. Honestly, I think this might just be a task while watching TV. Okay, so I said that would take 20 minutes and it's been 40. So doubled it, and I didn't actually do the last one. But now comes the fun part. So I'm gonna kind of sort the mini skeins by color. Oh, they're so pretty. I love them all. I have another work in progress, which is my baby surprise jacket. And this, I wanted to put a hood on. And for that, I wanted to use the rest of this Noro yarn. This will be my another half project. So this makes number 6. Maybe I will put 9 in there. It's still achievable. I think it's still achievable. Okay, so these are beautiful colors. So I'm definitely gonna do, I think I'm gonna do a blues and pinks. So I'm gonna get rid of these ones. So I'm gonna put these, I'm gonna organize this. This I'm gonna leave out because I'm gonna do this while watching TV. I'm gonna hand wind it. And then these I'm going to put in a bag. Should I use a poo bag? I think I will. So these unfortunately aren't breathable, but I don't do them up at the top. So I think it should be fine. Perfect. Okay, so I've now got 7 projects in there. So the Pengweeno is my 7th project. That's my scrappy project. I'm at 7, but the 7th was a baby sweater, and I think the next ones are also going to be baby size items. They don't really count as full size items. I'm in a pickle. I really want to knit everything. And I don't want to say no to any of my yarns to put them off for a year. It just seems so mean. So yeah, I think I might just plan to knit all of it. I don't know. Alright, so after much thinking, I've decided I'm going to try to stick with my plan of limiting what I put in that pink bucket. So I've decided that I'm going to put this baby sweater design on hold. And this was where I would knit with 3 yarns, lace weight yarns all together. So this is going to go, I'm going to reject this. It's painful, but I got to do it. And you got to do the same thing. There's some things that you gotta be realistic with what you can do. This is my beautiful special little yarn. I got this as a gift, and it's Quivic, which if you don't know is made from these like northern, I want to say buffalo or muskox, maybe the name. Those huge hairy beasts that live in the Arctic. And it's very valuable, extremely soft, extremely warm. And I'm gonna put this in my 2022 bucket because I would like to knit a pair of gloves with this, and also just to remind myself to knit something for me next year. So this one is going in that bucket, and I do want to make a pair of gloves with it. So that would be project number 8. Okay, so this is going to be the 9th and final pick, and it is going to be a baby sweater. So again, tiny objects, so it's okay to have a bunch of tiny objects in there. They don't, they're not quite whole numbers. It's going to be one that I designed. It's going to be Fisherman's Rib. This is going in the 2022 box, and unfortunately, I can't believe it, because all that other yarn looks amazing. I'm going to put it in the other box. These I'm going to rewind. This is going to be my rewind pile. So these are 2 projects that I'd like to pull out and rewind. So I'm going to put this in the same pile. So this is actually my to do while watching TV to organize. Last but not least, this is the paper mess that I need to go through. So we've got buttons in here. Ooh, pattern I completed, throw that out. I think for the labels what I might do is put them in little bags and then put a bag per box that contains the yarns that are in there. I just found another yarn barf that I need to rewind, so I missed 2. Tags organized. Last thing is needles. I love using interchangeable needles because you just have every size available to you. I think my goal should be after every project I should take the needles off of the cables and put them back, as well as the little stitch markers, because everything has a home. So I just need to get into the habit of putting everything back. Cool. Well, I think I'm just gonna do this and then I'm gonna call it a success. Thanks for joining, and hope this has kind of inspired you to maybe take a look at what you've got to knit, and maybe let me know in the comments if there's anything that you're planning on knitting. I'm always keen to knit new projects, and yeah, have fun knitting. Thanks for joining me while I